Chapter 25. Lavore, 3rd of May, 1211. I've not more than a moment to come to a new equilibrium between the hope that Ben has given me by breaking the circle and his loss, carving huge gashes into my soul. Because further disruption arrives unexpectedly. Outside, but close enough as to be clearly heard, comes the thunder of an explosion, such as when sappers get drunk and demonstrate their pyrotechnic skills in the barracks instead of under the walls they seek to bring down. Chaotic noise, peaks, hubbub, building in shrieks and shouts, and it's clear that panic reigns supreme outside the walls. De Montfort, his hand ready to seize another good man to my right, pauses and looks at Nisitas for instruction once more. The Bogomil curses, words in a language I don't speak but don't need to for me to gather his infuriated meaning, and spits. Come, I'll find out what goes on myself. We'll put an end to this uprising and then return to what needs to be done. The three men hurry from the room, through the door where the stable boy called for their attention, and I'm left, if not alone, then the only man or woman aware in the great hall. Movement has not come back, not fully. My head is moving slowly, but it's too little, and if I wait for it all to come back, I don't doubt it'll be too late. There's no way Foy rides to our aid. Raymond is no fool, and he knows the lost cause when he sees it. This is some additional distraction Benedict prepared to give us cover to escape. My time is limited. Of that I have no doubt. I concentrate on my toes outside the circle. These I can feel, can move. They wiggle on command. I attempt to dig them into the cold stone flagstones. It's no simple task, but inch by inch I drag my foot to the side, pulling my knees, my legs in that direction. As they move, it changes my balance. Slowly, far too damnably slowly, my stance widens, destabilizes. Finally, it is more than my body can maintain, and the spell can't counterbalance the change in position. I tumble, twisting to the right, following my foot's path, and my torso clears the circle. My hands come down instinctively, catching me, but they're enfeebled and do little to check my fall. My face plants onto the cool stone sharply, but I welcome the pain. I can feel. It means I'm alive. There's still a chance to stop this evil madness. Tears stream down my face as I pull myself forward. Strength has come back to my arms, enough at least that combined with my willpower I can cover ground. Dragging myself towards my downed friend, I am blessing him for giving me this chance, and berating myself for his death even though I know it's not my fault, determined to honor his sacrifice. I reach his body. It's still warm, but I can't stop, can't hold him, embrace him, mourn him as I wish to. Instead, it's arms forward, up and over as I pull myself across him, past him, towards the Grail. I'm close now, maybe a meter or two. My legs are regaining some feeling, though they're still trembling, putty-like. I press my hands to my right knee, forcing myself up to standing. Then I reach a hand forward to grab the Grail, to dash the energy from it, to destroy it if I must, to stop whatever Papa Nisitas is trying to make happen here. My arm comes up, but I can't move forward. For a moment, I think the magic has struck again, that I'm paralyzed, and in a way it has. But it's not the same one, no. This is a different magic. Looking down, I can see ropes of energy similar to those that hold the other perfects captive, looped around me. But not quite the same. There's an orange quality to the red, like new rust on a well-used plough blade. It's spun around me like a spider's cocoon for a fly, and it wraps more and more, enveloping me. What do you think you're doing, you foolish heathen? It is not those dark velvet tones of Nisitas, but a half-screech, half-demand, high and quite insane. It isn't Nisitas that's enrobed me in magic. It's Arnold Almeric, the Pope's envoy to the crusade. What are you doing? He demands again. But this time I can talk, can present an argument. We may be on opposing sides, but this is still a man of God. Surely he can be made to see reason. You may call me heathen, heretic, father, I start, but the working that creature is performing is a million times worse than anything I might perform. Can you not see the corruption he works upon the Grail? We must disrupt it now while he's gone, while we have a chance in the name of all that's holy. Can you not see what he's bringing through? There's a moment of silence. Then a giggle. A screeching sound like nails on slate emanates from behind me. Do you think His Holiness the Pope a fool? Do you think me such that we would trust a dark magician such as that accursed cat buggerer? No, we knew what he is, what he wants. He seeks to bring the Dark Lord, the evil one himself, through to our world, but I am the Pope's anointed one, blessed by our Holy Father with miraculous strength and power. We see it, we know, this is the moment long foretold, the ending battle between good and evil, and I will stand righteous and resolute and defeat that arriving demonic force. He speaks with tones sure and certain, and my heart sinks once more. There's no reasoning with him. Here is a true zealot, one convinced of his rightness, of his righteousness. He's lost to the mania of his twisted faith, and so sure in his arrogance that he believes himself capable of taking on the monstrous thing that seeks to enter our world. The fool! What will arrive when this working is complete is beyond his power to defeat. Of that much I feel sure. There is no reasoning with his form of madness, though. When the echo of approaching footsteps carries from the open doorway on the right, Almeric steps forward, releasing his magic and pressing a blade to my throat instead. It seems Nisitas is not aware of the monk's power, and that Almeric is in no hurry for him to find out. Perhaps I can turn that to my advantage somehow. The black-robed mage strides in, De Montfort by his side, eagerness permeating his movements. Then he sees me, and his brow furrows, his countenance darkens till I think I can almost see sparks flying from his eyes. What is the meaning of this? His voice is low, but the menace contained within it is not. This one got free. Perhaps your powers are not as great as you thought. The sneering mockery from Almeric is clear. I'm surprised Nisitas hasn't killed him yet. I can only assume he still has some part to play in the Bogomil's plans. Nisitas spits again, then looks back at me. No matter. He can be the next to feed the cleansing. And so, this is it. We've lost. Almeric's knife is to my throat, and I cannot move towards the Grail without slicing my own windpipe. Nisitas draws his athame, ready to add my soul to this perversion he works, all to bring about this terrible freeing, this almost certain ending. For a moment, time seems to slow. I think back to the girl trapped under that wooden beam, of the strange force I found swirling around in my belly that flooded my limbs and gave me strength beyond my own meagre measure. I dig down deep inside myself, searching for it. There. I can sense it. My thoughts go to the cords of magic Almeric has tied me in, to those Nisitas has attached to all the surrounding perfects. My arm is still outstretched. There remains one last possible chance. I close my eyes, reach deep inside myself and pull that force up, channel it through my arm. I know what it is now. Magic. When I used it to save that girl, I did it without knowing, without thinking. This time it's deliberate, and I know what it means. I'm damning my soul, When I die, which I will, and soon, I'll be nothing. My essence turned to dust. My thoughts stray to poor Benedict. I'm glad he's already dead. His soul should be freed from this world, my damnation not undoing his own salvation. It makes me sick to think that, but it's a relief he doesn't live, doesn't see what I do next. Gathering the force up, I hurl it outwards at the Grail. My eyes snapping open, I see ropes of magic extending towards it, wrapping around the cup, but not red like the others I've seen. These are green, the colour of a jade as it catches a sunbeam. It'd be truly beautiful if it weren't a mortal sin. It's a price I'm prepared to pay, though. The obliteration of my soul to save the world? That's a fair exchange. Nisitas yells unintelligibly, but he reacts too damnably fast. His own hand comes up, and his sticky red magic also wraps the Grail. He pulls, and I do too. A tug of war with the fate of the world in the middle. For a minute, there's a stalemate, each of us straining against the other. Then everything happens all together suddenly. Nisitas shrieks, "Kill him!" and I can feel the power he puts into it. Almeric doesn't even make a choice. The knife sweeps across my throat in an instant. But as it does, I give my whole soul to the magic. I give it permission to devour me, to swallow me whole if it will just lend me this last strength. And I pull all the harder as my life drips away to pool on the floor below me. At first, I think it's in vain. Nothing happens. Nothing changes. The standoff remains and I'm dying. Then, suddenly, light spreads like a spider web across the Holy Grail. It takes me a moment to realize it's cracking, that the cup itself is fissuring. The magic starts pulling inwards, the rope of energy being devoured by the cup. Almeric is gibbering in my ear, and he releases me, pushing me forwards. Across the divide, I see de Montfort back away, his instincts telling him, rightly, that nothing good is about to happen, but Nisitas is trapped. The look of sheer horror on his face makes my sacrifice worth it. He's trying to untangle his magical threads from the Grail, but he's failing, and the cup is sucking them in, drawing on his magic greedily as it breaks, pulling him closer and closer towards it. For a moment, all is silent. The room almost like a painting, so as I can see the expression on each face: terror, despair, failure. Not the worst thing to see on the faces of your enemies before your soul is lost. My lifeblood is gushing around my knees, pooling where I landed after being released. I look back at the Grail, and then it explodes. A green light flooding outwards from it like a broken barrier cracking, no longer holding back the ravaging river. It strikes me as white heat roars around me, swirling, growing, expanding to fill the room with unbearable heat, and then I die for the first time. But I'm not gone. I thought non-existence was where I was headed, into oblivion and ending. Instead, my eyes come open once more, and I find myself on what resembles a beach, although only in the loosest of senses. The substance I'm on is sand, or as like it as I can't tell the difference, except it's grey, and there's not a division between sea and land, but an endless monochromatic constant. For a moment, I wonder if it's not powdered bone, but I'm not about to plunge my fingers in, and even then, I doubt I'll be able to tell the difference. I'm dead. That much I'm sure. This isn't like reawakening after the burning pyre. That razor cut across my throat by Almeric's hand was no illusion. This is nowhere in the world, nowhere inside of life itself. There's no doubt in my mind. Where it is, that I have no clue as to the answer. Looking around is no help. The landscape is uniform in all directions, unchanging. If I head off, if I leave this spot, I've no sense of where I should go. As I debate a course of action, something else catches my eye. At my feet, I see a line appear in the substance I decide to think of as sand for my own mental well-being. It's like when a child finds a stick at the beach and carves shapes with it, only there's no stick, nor any visible wielder. Only the scratched marks themselves appearing, and they aren't making shapes, they're forming letters. Letters which say, not yet. And then the grey landscape fades, turning black, and I'm gone from this place, though where I'm going to, I've no more idea than where it is I'm leaving. I come to, with a gasping breath I immediately regret, considering the smells I swallowed down with it, so rancid as to be almost solid. It takes a moment, but I get my bearings, and, to my surprise, I know where I am. I'm in a soiled, shit-stinking alley behind a local tavern that stands just outside Lavor's castle walls. Glancing down, I see my clothes are the humble threads of a local peasant, and as I roll over, I glimpse a face in a puddle of a substance I'd rather not identify. A face that's not my own. I recognize him, though. A local happy drunkard, oblivious to the lingering military threat, thanks to the comfortable alcoholic haze he spent his days drifting around in. I've no idea if he's a victim of murderous banditry or a vengeful faction of the Crusaders, but it's the face of a dead man looking up at me, and his death was deliberate. They made the slash across his throat with a more blunted, but no less deadly blade than the one that was used to kill me. As I study the ragged wound, it closes up, sealing as though never having existed. Even more astonishingly, the man's features melt away, replaced by my own. It's incredible, unbelievable, and yet, after all I've so recently witnessed, I feel too numb to search for any sense of understanding, too stunned to appreciate the wonder of living once again. I stagger to my feet, seeking both my balance and my composure. As my brain slowly sheds some of its befuddlement, I turn towards the castle, thinking to seek what has befallen my fellow good men and women, and whether any of them survived that terrible confrontation. I don't go many steps, however, before I catch sight of the wanton destruction. The castle is ablaze, and more than one nearby building is damaged, sporting a section of the stonework that once formed the main hall's walls flung ballista-like outwards from the explosion. Through the sapped wall section, I can see the hall itself is no longer existent. It's been razed to the ground, the metre-thick walls shredded as though they were parchment, carried outwards like said scraps fed to the wind. Guards rush aimlessly around, clearly lacking any sense of direction, but aiming to look busy. The military quickly instills a fear of being spotted as an idler during a time of crisis. I draw closer, part of a curious but wary crowd of locals, well aware that they might suffer by quickly becoming targets for the disordered and panicked soldiers. Creeping closer, I overhear some conversation from the nearby guards, aiming to hold back any overly nosy villagers. "Body parts scattered like blasted cards, not a one that were recognisable, I heard," says one. "It seems impossible that anyone could have escaped, though I heard 'twas due to them being at the door when the whole thing exploded. No idea how such an infernal happening befell 'em. Still, if you were to lay a bet upon one man to survive, De Montfort would have been my first pick, no question. No doubt, though that manic priest would have been a whole lot further down the list. They say there was hundreds of 'em in the hall, and just those two made it out alive. Unbelievable. I've heard he's less cocksure from whatsoever he's went through. Broken his ankle, And you'd think it is him who died rather than all the other poor buggers inside, all shaky and weepy, gabbling about devils and damnation he was. Think he might have lost some of his taste for war, if I'm any judge. Never mind. There's plenty more who'll be happy to take up his place and push forward the cause. Plenty more killing and plundering for us, all with a tidy signed heavenly place tied up and promised at its bloody end. The two men chuckle as they lean on their halberds, their eyes weighing up at the jostling locals. I guess they're looking for targets either to rob or take out some anger on. Making myself such a target would be foolish indeed. I slip back into the shadows before they can catch sight of me and identify me as one of those thought dead in the recent explosion. So, all the good people are dead, destroyed in the magical fire. That Nisitas is also dead is at least a small mercy. His existence posed a present danger to all humanity by my oath. But hearing that Arnold and Simon have survived, it's enough to make my blood boil inside my skin. Rage roars through my system, pounding in my ears. I'm no longer perfect. That ended when I embraced the magic and damned my soul. So be it. As I see it, I have two targets to achieve with this strange second life I've been given. The first is to have my vengeance upon the butcher of Beziers and that northern bastard de Montfort. I'll see them both dead and buried. The second is to gain control over these mysterious abilities, this bizarre magic inside of me. I suspect I'll require it if I'm to achieve my first aim. I've few allies left alive, and fewer still who would understand what I've done, what I'm now capable of doing. My thoughts go to that Israelite rabbi who gave me his blessing, a blessing that seemed to have unlocked this strange power for the first time, and I can't help but wonder how much of what happened he saw lying ahead for me. There's no other option, no one else who can help me or provide me with any guidance. My mind made up, I set off to see what I can get my hands on, if I can beg or steal some supplies. I'll need them for the long and tiresome journey ahead of me towards the Mediterranean and Montpellier's bustling, goods-laden port.